Thank you for watching my YouTube channel, nationally and internationally. This thing's going nuts, and I want to thank you for that. Remember, put Jesus on the front. Pray before you go. Let's give it the beans. The Emperor Diocletian's dying words were, "If you don't eat your meat, you can't have any pudding. How can you have any pudding if you don't eat your meat?" You got about $3,000 to $5,000 to spend on a nice old midweight cruiser. Vstar or VTX? I do like the two twin piston rotors on the front. I like that. The VTX has one. I've had two VTX 1300s. Let's see how this measures up. And this has got a heel toe shifter, which I like. I've had heel toe shifters on half of my cruisers. I've had 18 motorcycles. I'm TG MotoRider. I'm a daily rider. I review bikes. Been a stuntman for 30 years. A lot of movies and television, but motorcycles are my absolute passion. I ride every day, even in the winter. This has got an oversized chips windshield. Won't Eric Estrada be so jealous? Turn signals are not oh yeah, they are self-canceling. Sweet. Boom, crash. Let's give it the beans. Oh yeah, it's got some good pull. Plenty of pull. It's a 5-speed, just like the VTX. First thing you notice is when you're on it, you're sort of riding on top of the bike. You're not really in it. You're not really melding with it. The VTX 1300, you were kind of in the bike. In a way, the tank comes up a little more. This, you were just sitting on top of a motorcycle. That's how it comes off to me. But the acceleration was fine. Very, very good. No issues. The stock seat's pretty comfortable. On paper, they're very similar. They both weigh just north of 660 pounds wet. They both have just north of 70 horsepower. One's a shaft drive and this one's a belt. Huh. That does mean less power loss with the belt. All right, let's hit the brakes. Brakes are bitey. I like two rotors on the front. That's good. Oh yeah, the brakes are way bitier than the brakes are better than the VTX 1300 for sure. I've owned two VTX 1300s and one 1800. I did love my A1300s very much. They're bulletproof. Fuel capacity of the VTX 1300, 4.8 gallons. Fuel capacity in the Vstar, 4.9 gallons. Very close. Burning around these people, and comfortable riding position, very, very comfortable. What I do find amusing is there's a giant windscreen in front of me, and I'm still getting an enormous amount of wind blowback just coming around the sides of it, hitting me in the chest. Kind of funny. Usually a windscreen this big, like the one on my Nomad, you're pretty much in your environmental echo chamber, but not today. I would take this off. I was going to buy this bike today. So the Vstar 1300, is it as good as the VTX 1300? Yeah, I think it is. It's definitely a different kind of riding style, though, I will say. It's a little bit different of a ride. You know, I felt a great ease on hard cornering my VTX 1300 because I could wrap my knees up around that tank. The tank set a little higher. The tank sits lower. It's actually just below the level of my knees. And so it is a different situation. It reminds me of the BMW R18 where you're sort of up on top looking down on the bike, you know? It's a different riding position. I'm not saying one's better than the other, but I've always liked having my knees against the tank completely or under it even, to where you feel like if you hard brake, your knees will come up under the tank. You got extra to hold on to there, and I always felt better about cornering, but I got the tank just a little higher than this, in my opinion. In terms of reliability, I think you'll find they're about the same. The thing I would warn you about the VTX 1300 is with the carburation, you are going to have to clean those carbs out. Modern fuels have 10% ethanol. Ethanol eats aluminum, and motorcycle carburetors are made of aluminum. So you end up with this yellow paste. It's kind of like a yellow film in there. And you got to get in there and clean that out. You got to clean, rejet. You got to clean the needles. So stuff like that. That's what you'll have to worry about if you get a VTX 1300. But the motor itself, other than that, is quite bulletproof. This is fuel injected, no choke. It'll crank right up in the cold. Won't give you any trouble. So if that's a concern, this might be a better fit for you. This riding position is very comfortable. These handlebars are swept back. The mirrors are functional and good, and even going fast, they do not vibrate. The fit and finish on the Vstar is beautiful. I love the giant headlight. I love all the chrome accents. It's a very pretty bike to look at. And when you hammer it in fifth, yeah, it'll give you what you want. Miles per gallon, pretty close. Horsepower, pretty close. I always felt like that shaft drive. Always felt like I had too much loss. A shaft drive, you can lose up to a 30 or power. Belt drive's not really as much. I think you lose about 8 to 10% with a belt. I think chain is the best in terms of power loss. I think you lose like 3 to 5% of your power with a chain. So chain is always the best, but the maintenance is a pain on the chain. It's a pain on a chain. So, interesting side note, over there in the woods they found dinosaur feces. So the scientists extracted the DNA and they took it back to the lab, and they were actually able to make more dinosaur feces. They couldn't make a dinosaur, but they made more feces, and I thought, that's pretty cool. I mean, I guess they could have made their own little Jurassic Park where you just walk in the gate and some dude's like, hey man, what's where you step, So a couple things about this motor. The way this motor is, because it's a short stroke, it's got like wider pistons. Because of that, it's a little unstable. So they added these dual balancers to keep it from shaking itself to death. They coated the cylinders in ceramics to keep the heat down. Well, now there's something you don't see every day. Hey, I'll race you. I do like the Vstar. I like this motor. I like the way they have this motor mapped out in the Striker. Maybe they should have mapped it out the same way in this. But this is really kind of a chill cruiser. It's reasonably good gas mileage. You'd be very comfortable on this, taking this across the country. I prefer the riding position on the VTX 1300 over this. But I do like the pull of this motor better. So, I don't know. If you're on the fence about which one to get, I think you got to ride them both. Flip a coin. I always wish they had just made the VTX 1300 fuel injected. I really wish they had just done that. Maybe at least even in the last year, 07, 08, when they stopped making them. But they didn't do that. So. And the good news is, if you do buy a Vstar, they're really not that old. Even if you find a used one, they're not quite as old as the VTX models you'll find out there. It does feel like it needs a driver's backrest. A little bit. Just because of the way it is. I didn't feel that way on my VTX, but I do feel that way on this. Like, the seat's wide and comfortable, but the way it's sort of shifting your weight back, it sort of, here's you, and so you're pivoted back instead of like that. Kind of makes a difference. All right, let's see how this thing is. Well, ridden on a horse. You're using coconuts, what? You got 2 empty hours of coconuts, you're banging them together. Well, it doesn't matter. Go and tell your master that Arthur from the court of Camelot is here. Where'd you get the coconuts? We found them in Mercia. The coconut's tropical. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. For sure. Yeah, handle's great. Just got to lean forward on the tank a little bit. Got to shift your weight up a little bit. Scooch forward to do some of the tight maneuvering, but it handles great. I like the twin rotors on the front. I like 4 pistons on the front. I am a huge fan of that. The braking power on this thing is really quite good. I love the oversized airbox. I love some of the fit and finish you get. I do like the look of the 2-in-1 giant pipe is beautiful. I mean, this is a beautiful motorcycle. I like the oversized headlight. The only problem is with the shape of it. Here's one bummer. My VTX 1300 round, you can pop a daymaker in there very easily. On this, you're not going to be able to pop a daymaker in there. You could probably change that to an LED. You're not going to be able to pop the full round daymaker in there. That's the only bummer I could see about that. Because I do like those aftermarket daymaker headlights. I've had 4 of them over my 18 bikes. And at night when I ride, it's just superior. Daymakers are great. 5.2 inches of travel on the front. I think the VTX is 5.1. They're so close you can't tell. It's a nice soft comfortable ride. Very dependable cruiser, great road presence. I think you'd be very happy with it if you bought it. The fuel injection, very good over the carburation. Pound for pound, it's going to come down to your personal needs and desires. And that's my review of the Vstar 1300. Remember, put Jesus on the front, pray before you go. TG MotoRider, signing off.